We're almost.
Okay, yes, good to see you.
What do we need,
Actually, I'm doing
only two
okay
more
except for
people?
one thing. I'm missing, I don't have a pen attached to me like I usually do. Does
Oh,
anybody have an extra pen?
I was so mad last Thursday.
If it's easy, yeah, if you have an extra pen.
Here you go.
Oh, you got one? Thank you.
When it doesn't work right,
Thank you, Lee.
You're welcome.
Nice color blue, too.
I got going with the state today. I had to renew my GC license. Of course, now you can do all that, all your continuing ed online. And if you know how to, I take my test first, then I go back and spend my hour, you know, on the deal. And it was, 14, took 2 days to get 14 hours. So anyway, got on their online
Hey there.
portal.
How are you?
hit the brake just a
It didn't work.
Before or
When
afterwards?
it-
I mean, at the front end? Front end?
Ended up
Okay,
getting
good,
me
perfect.
in
Yep,
trouble.
absolutely, okay, yep.
That's smart.
Yep.
make myself look away, so I wouldn't.
But I'm just turning into a high-tech guy.
Makes sense.
All right.
I didn't know it was coming, so I was just.
I appreciate that. I do appreciate that.
Because it's a system that's learning how to run.
That, one of the very first pages in there is the checklist.
Well, the vehicle in front of me was a Econoline.
Y'all need to take out the parenthetical, original in 3 copies, and things like that. Just, it makes you second guess what you're doing, even, because it's the same as the other.
And it made the hood,
My question to,
because it hit like right
Yes.
there.
I know Devin, and I may have asked somebody else this. Oh, I know, I was talking to Renee about something.
Sometimes if the microphones are pointing slightly at each other, it'll do
I
that.
said, by the way, have you ever played like a Citizen Go on website? And that was it. I just left her at the last. I said, that says enough. I'm not gonna go any further.
In the back seat, I didn't even realize.
Hello, hello.
I mean, I applaud you guys for doing that. But it is.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it sounds sort of feedback, it's starting to get,
You know, what your trade-off is turning, you go from a printing company to a different type of communication.
especially if you have a model.
Yeah.
There you go.
One of the things that we, sometimes people have no allergic reaction to it, so that's a bad thing, that's a bad process.
Stretch, I'm ready for the gap.
So you can monitor how it moves from desk to desk.
Warmed up.
Well, they're trying to capture that. But it was almost.
Hello,
I got a web specialist now.
everybody feel better about that?
10 by 10 office.
We're not hearing the feedback, so good, we're excellent, thank you.
It's just all about communicating out there. So I think it's all good.
We've got 2 design professionals and 5 people.
2 other.
We're good, right? So we're
3
good to
brilliant,
go?
and 3 other
All right.
brilliant people.
We have an interested audience. They riveted to something, I'm not sure. Sorry. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Karen, are we ready to go? All right. Hereby call the August 2nd, 2018 Design Review Board meeting to order. And let's see. I guess we first dispose of the minutes and then we'll have staff announcements. So the minutes are, I believe they're in the packet. Do we have any questions, comments, or suggestions on the, these are the June 7, 2018 minutes.
I have just a quick, I don't think it'll matter, but I'm trying to get there, 1 second. It was the, yes, here it is, sorry. Let me get the page number. Page 4, item 6. The second to the last paragraph of discussion on the item, when we're talking about the signage for the multiple tenants, I think Mr. Margaretten, sorry, when he stated they could look at regulating signage and requiring the signs be placed over the front door of the business, I think he said over the front door or next to, over or next to the front door. Because that was, and the reason I'm bringing it up is that was part of the issue, is that the canopies wouldn't allow signage over the door. So, I don't know if that's that level of detail, but that was kind of a point of discussion there.
Okay. Now, I may have misunderstood. Did you say item 6 or?
Item 6, page 4, at the, like,
Okay.
second to the last paragraph of discussion. Starts with Ms. Moore stated the board had previously discussed.
Okay, yes, so this was, we had several conversations like this over the past couple months, so.
Yeah, this was the
okay.
one where we didn't get a signage plan with.
Yep.
And there were awnings over each window that were gonna make it weird with putting signage over the bays.
Yep. So I guess the way the minutes are drafted, it doesn't say this explicitly, but they'll have to come back for signage. Is that?
Yes.
correct.
Yeah.
And I think he was just saying I think he was leaning toward having them put signage, requiring them to put signage next to the door.
Ah,
Because it was over the doors that was challenging.
okay, yep, okay, understood.
So I think if you just said
okay.
placed next to the front door of the business, that might.
Okay. If there are no other comments on the minutes, then I guess if we had a motion that included that comment, we could,
I'll make that motion to approve with that minor change.
okay. All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. I don't know, with minutes, do we have any input from the staff or the audience? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, I believe we had some staff announcements.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Kristen would like to address the board for just a moment related to the amendment of the Land Development Code.
Very good. Welcome.
Hey, good evening. So I wanted to come brief you guys a little bit about the Land Development Code update project that we've got going on, because I know you've been working on a number of code amendments to Chapter 13, which Tim has provided me with those that you've kind of agreed on to date. So I'll be looking to incorporate those in the update. So there's no more Chapter 13. The code only has 8 chapters now, so things are really getting shifted around and moved around a lot. And the scenic corridor stuff's getting moved to another chapter, but we'll make those edits. But I also understand that there are some edits that you've been discussing that are pending. Dark skies language. So I think what I'd like to hear from you tonight, hopefully, is maybe get some direction on that so that I can get that in this draft, because we are moving forward to Planning Commission August 9th. And then we'll come back to you in September with that draft. So you'll have a chance to provide comments before it moves forward to the board. So if you have something you'd like to tell me about dark skies, I would appreciate any kind of direction on that so that I can kind of get some language moving there, just because this big code update project's kind of swallowing you up.
Yep. Okay. At the last couple meetings, I'll say I don't want to speak for everybody. I struggled with the concept of including all of the model dark skies code, which is pretty voluminous, but I think it would have a wonderful effect for the community. So I don't mean to throw a question back at you, but do you have an opinion you'd be willing to share about the feasibility of just including the entire dark sky code as a chapter or something like that? Or a I guess a sub-part of chapter, whatever chapter 5 becomes?
It's certainly something that we can take a look at. I intend to kind of summarize it a little bit for the decision makers. So when I do that, there will be opportunity to look at pieces and parts and get some feedback. So when I go to the Planning Commission, I'll have that kind of summary, if that sounds agreeable to you. I mean, I don't know what they will say, but then we come back here in September and hopefully get a good solid recommendation from this board on, what, the whole thing or pieces or parts, and we can kind of break that down and be able to talk about that intelligently at that meeting. And then have a good solid recommendation or some input from the planning commission and you going to the board. And, you know, it's hard to say, we probably won't have time to hear from a lot of people that may not agree with everything that's in there.
Yeah.
And so if it starts looking like that, then we may pull back a little bit, because we gotta keep in mind that the Land Development Code update project has to move.
Yeah.
If it's something that we can't accomplish reasonably, then we may pull back and do it outside of that framework. I'll just, throw
Okay.
that out there.
All right.
Which is kind of what we were doing.
That we were doing in fits and starts.
Yeah.
The overall concept of it is it establishes a budget for a project based on the type of project, its location, so you get X amount of light that you can play around with. Yeah, and so the concept that we kicked out is that there are places where a particular project might want to have a lot of light for security or some other reason, and the code allows for that. It just doesn't allow everybody to have all kinds of security light everywhere at all times. So,
Yeah.
so if there may be a simpler way. One thing that I began to look into, and I apologize to everybody that I didn't get all the way through it, was the fact that the code, the way it's written, probably there's a lot of things in the code that might not apply to us in South Walton at this period of time.
Yeah.
And so maybe if we stripped all that stuff out, the whole thing would shrink down a little bit. So.
Yeah.
Tim, I know that our schedules haven't lined up. I don't know, maybe we could try to, I guess next week is pretty much it for us to try to
If we
do
can,
it. Kristen, okay, maybe we do that. Okay.
let's do that, and let me look at that a little bit more in depth. I just glanced at it. I mean, we have to consider implementation as well and what our staff can reasonably do.
Yeah.
So there's that side of it. So we probably need to have some
Yeah.
back and forth discussion about that.
Okay.
So let's plan on doing that. I can't promise that it will go perfectly to the planning commission, but we'll get back to you in September. So I don't want you to be
Okay.
alarmed if you see anything. And,
Yep.
I also didn't want you guys to be making amendments to a chapter that didn't exist
We don't
anymore.
want to do that
So
either.
yeah, so we'll do that. That sounds good. You want to call me?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Call us.
Yep.
And let's get that going. And I got the other edits, and everybody's in agreement with those, right? So far.
Yes.
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 And one thing just to mention real quickly, I don't know if this is unanimous among the board, but we have had some discussion as part of this that we would love to see the dark skies concepts be applied across the board, not just to the scenic corridor, this particular
Right,
scenic corridor,
yeah.
but all of, I mean, you could do all of Walton County.
Yeah, dark sky in one neighborhood doesn't really accomplish anything.
Correct. It's
This
sort
or South Walton, the South Walton planning
South.
area.
of north and south.
That was my
Yeah.
understanding.
At least south.
Yeah. I mean, I had a brief conversation, it's been a couple of years ago, and he promised to come visit us, and I guess got distracted when he got down here. But the gentleman that heads up that organization, the executive director, I guess is his title, happened to be coming on vacation in this area. I think he's in Arizona, but he was coming over here, and we never crossed paths, but he was going to come down and try to give us a presentation. But the reason I mentioned that is that he, in my conversation with him on the phone, he explained that ideally one community will, in our case maybe the county, will get something like this accomplished, and then it's important to begin approaching the neighboring communities like City of Destin and Bay County to see if they would commit as well, because unless you get about 100 miles across to commit to it, it's you can't. We can't ensure. We get sky glow from Destin, and so it's something that's kind of it's like almost like the Northwest Florida Regional Light District or something like that.
I mentioned that the Eglin Small Area Study, which the board did say they wanted to include into our code, does have some lighting.
Yeah.
Like they are very, that is something they do not want.
Yeah.
So there may be some piggyback there.
Yeah.
So I want to look at that. There are some other changes to chapter 13, which is now chapter 7. That you guys will probably want to weigh in on as well. We're trying to clean up some of the 30A language a little bit to make it better implementable and more vision oriented, so that our staff can kind of see what the end goal is and make sure that each individual project is getting there. and I'll talk about that a little bit when that time comes. But there's some cleanup stuff to other sections as well that we've done beyond what Tim has discussed. So just be ready for that and be looking for it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Okay, any other announcements? In that case, we'll arrive at item number 1, Path of Grace Thrift Store building sign.
Good evening, Tim Brown with Planning and Development. This is a Path of Grace thrift store building sign. This is a request for a building sign measuring 155 inches by 30.7 inches for a total of 33.05 square feet on 0.89 acres with a future land use of coastal center mixed use. It's located at 10916 US Highway 98 West in Miramar Beach, and it is in compliance with the scenic corridor requirements for signage. I will answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Okay, I believe we've, as of late, been receiving audience input prior to worrying about a motion. So any comments from the audience on this item? Is the applicant present? No applicant. All right. Well,
Yes, you know me, just a curiosity question. Tim, do you know if that shaded square thing, rectangular area, is that just something existing on the building? You can see it in the picture of the sign on the building? Or is that some kind of, it almost
looks like an
a
old
little
sign.
light fixture or something, but it's probably just a shadow of something that was previously there.
Yeah, I think perhaps, and I'm just guessing, they whited out the old sign.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because there's something on that building now. I don't know what it says, but I believe there's something on there now.
So that may not be an actual thing, it might be in the photo. The photo changes or improvements or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but
Okay.
it's kind of what it looks like.
Just
They
curious.
whited it out.
Okay. Motion, are we ready?
I just have one question. It doesn't say anywhere, these are channel letters. Internally eliminated channel. I
I
mean,
believe it's down on the bottom.
I'm looking at the section of it, it doesn't call it out or anything.
Yeah, it says 5-inch aluminum return, so that tells me it is channel letters and it's LED illumination. But you're right, I mean, it doesn't come right out and say it, but I'm pretty confident that these are channel letters.
So we just made the motion based on that.
Yeah, you can make that a condition. Because the way the drawing shows those.
It shows individual letters, but
It looks like it, but.
sometimes we never know. That could be one big rectangular box.
Yeah, I guess I missed that. I thought it specifically identified it. My checklist that it was channel letters.
That's interesting.
So I was just looking at their application to see if they said what it was.
Also, there's a spelling error. Steel, instead of steel hardware.
Yeah, Stell.
Makes a difference whether it's stainless steel or not.
Yeah, I mean, that drawing definitely shows channel letters, even though it doesn't come right out and say it. That drawing certainly indicates channel letters. But, I mean, you could make that a motion, a condition of your motion.
One minor, well, maybe not minor detail, the application is not executed.
Yeah, I brought that up. Because they just load it onto CitizenServe now, they just upload it through our online portal. No one is policing this right now. I mean, I brought it up that, this is we should not, if they brought it as a hard copy, we would turn them away because this wasn't executed. But when you upload it to the portal, how do you turn them away? It's on the portal. I mean, we could say we're not going to process it, I suppose, unless you fill this out and have it notarized, sign it and notarize it. We're not going to process it, but We were already too far down the road for that, but it should be executed.
When they upload it to the portal, is there anything that they have to acknowledge that they're telling the truth and all of that, which is what the,
There is,
yeah, so
Yep,
that's probably
okay.
what takes
and it's
place.
a notarized affidavit.
Mhm.
So it's like an electronic.
Yeah, see, I don't know what's on the other side,
Yeah.
because what we see and what the public see are
Mhm,
different,
different,
so.
yeah.
I'm gonna have to recuse myself from the conversation concerning that,
Well, you can talk about it.
based on my recent experience.
So there is something you fill out.
Well, I mean, I just got through doing it. I filled out all your hard copy forms and scanned them. And I had my notary notarize my
Yeah,
signature.
you properly.
I also made an original in
Execute.
3 copies and tried to turn it in, and that's when I had to go back
Yeah, we won't.
But there
take-
was nothing when
and
you
I
went
was
to,
exposed abruptly to the open planning portal. But I'm good with it now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just good, just for a second, I mean, Madam Attorney, not to put you on the spot here, but, so the part that's blank is required signature, contractor or applicant's affidavit. I certify that all facts stated in this application are complete, true, and correct, and that all construction shall be in compliance with all applicable ordinances and regulations of Walton County and the state of Florida, yada, yada, yada. Goes on about, understand the permit is subject to revocation, at any time upon the violation of any provision of any ordinance, et cetera. So I guess my comfort level with voting to approve something that's missing a description, looks like a routine deal, but we don't have a signature that says that they promised that it is a routine deal, so, I don't know, would it be inappropriate to, have a motion that had a contingency that the affidavit be executed before the permit be issued?
That would be perfectly fine. My recommendation would be to either postpone until they do have the properly signed documentation in our file, or number 2, to make your vote contingent on all the documentation being properly executed.
Okay. And then, Tim, I guess going forward, for what it's worth, I support, for whatever me supporting it's worth, rejection of applications that aren't complete.
I do too.
Yes.
And I agree, but unfortunately, no one's really policing that at
Okay.
the moment. Because it was like this when I'm doing the staff report, I'm sitting down to do the staff report, we've already advertised it and everything.
Yeah.
It's like, it shouldn't have even gotten to me without this, so we gotta get someone to start policing this.
Well,
Okay.
Tim, if you don't mind, Sharon,
Yeah,
and
go
one of the things that we need to be cognizant of is making sure that whoever it is that's coming in and making these applications has the legal authority to be making an application on the owner's behalf.
Yep.
May or may not be actually the owner.
Yeah.
The tenant.
A very good point. Yep.
Well, that's what, we do that with projects, they have to have a signed agent affidavit. We don't do that with signs because they're signed contractors. And for the most part, the building department doesn't require a permit, but if it does require a permit, they'll only issue it to a signed contractor.
Mhm.
So I don't know why that is. We absolutely do it with a project. You have to provide us an agent affidavit from the owner saying, you can do this on my behalf, but the whole time I've been here, we've never done that with signs.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, I would
Applicant's not
suggest
here,
you
no
make
comments
that-
from the audience.
I would-
What's y'all's pleasure?
I suggest you make that a condition of the approval, that they execute this form.
Anybody care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve on condition that these are definitely channel letters and that, any and all documents are properly executed before, I don't know, what is it? If you don't give a permit, do you give a permit
Prior to approval.
or prior
I still
to?
have to sign off that it's approved, DRB approved, so I won't do that until they.
So prior to approval.
Do we have a second?
second.
All right. Any further comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 2, clean wash building sign.
Yes, this is a building sign, a request for a building sign measuring 185 inches by 36 inches for a total of 46.25 square feet on 2 acres of future land use of village mixed use. It's located at 5008 US Highway 98 West in Miramar Beach. This is Emerald Coast Plaza. And for whatever reason, they do not have a master sign plan, so they have to come before this board to get their signs approved. This sign is in compliance with the scenic corridor requirements for signage, and I will answer any questions you have. It's, as you can kind of see from the picture, it's at the end unit closest to Don Bishop Road.
Is there an existing laundry there now?
No,
Coin
it's,
or something, or is it a different?
Yeah, there's some laundry there.
That's the laundry.
So they're changing their sign out.
No, they didn't have a sign.
Yeah, they did.
Easy Coin or something?
Yeah, we already addressed that a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah, he's saying it's changing ownership, so.
Yeah.
Okay, is the applicant present?
Yes.
Do you want to come forward and make any comments? Not required, but if you do make comments, please introduce yourself and spell your name for the record, please.
Good afternoon, it's Jim Sutton with Vintage Art Sign. Name is KIM-SUTTON, and no comments. You know, those are channel letters. That large capsule is existing, and so it does not light. So just the logo and the text light.
Okay. And the logo is self-serve, the basket.
Yes, sir.
And the bubbles.
And
Yes. Otherwise, it'd just be a bunch of dirty socks. Sorry.
I see a t-shirt.
Okay.
There's some hands in there.
Yes. Do we have any other comments or questions from the board for the applicant? All right. Any questions or comments from the audience? All right. We are at the point of a motion.
Make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Any further comments or questions? All right. All in favor?
Well,
Oop,
can I
yep.
just-
Go ahead.
I get that it technically meets the code, but, I don't, I'm not too sure that, just the look of it to me doesn't comply with the intent of the code. And I know we have to be, careful about that, but,
Is it the background bubbles?
well, that's part of it, yeah. I guess, is that, what did you call that thing behind it? That's got the print on it? Sorry, that's the panel. Dibond? Is that
it
his?
is
Dibond panel? So are the letters in front of that? We don't have a side section
I should give you a section.
view, but are they in front of it and attached to it as if it were kind of like a raceway?
The raceway is behind it. And this is like that capsule or that panel is a shield of sorts. Hides the raceway and the letters mounted up.
Okay, so the panel's in front of the raceway.
So this is like I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
this is like a whole box. That capsule is like the whole box.
And the letters kind of bubble
flat.
out from it, or the letters in
No,
front?
the capsule is like the box, and
The
the
capsule is-
letters are
It's
flat.
thin,
This thing.
it's thin,
Huh?
It's a 1/4 inch thick.
yeah. Just covering the raceway.
And then the letters are attached to the panel. That was my question. Okay.
So the letters are three-dimensional. The
5
clean
inches.
wash
It's,
are in front of that panel.
Yes, ma'am. 5 inches deep.
The letters are 5 inches deep? It's just hard to tell on here. It's from the ring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about the self-serve? Is that just painted on the panel, or is that,
It's
I know if
channel
it's a
letters.
logo, but is it just painted or
The letters
three-dimensional?
themselves.
Excuse me?
It is channel letter, yes, ma'am. It stands.
Oh, just like a channel letter, one.
Yes.
Does the basket stand out as well?
Yes, everything but the bubble panel, the basket, the clothes.
So all that
Text.
whole, the bubble thing and the profile of the basket stand out 5 inches, just like the letters.
Exactly.
that you could do away with the panel and just do the channels, you know, the basket and the letters? Would that be really hardship for you?
I think it might look much better.
I do, and I'll agree. I think just it would look better that way. And the other thing, this is what was a little bit of a concern to me, is that this looks big for that space, that facade. Like it's really filling up. And getting rid of that panel would help that. It would diminish that. Do you see what I'm saying? It makes the overall
Yeah,
thing
no, I
not
agree
take
with
up
that.
so much space on
I
that
agree with
facade.
that. And then the other thing is that it also, I'm sorry, but, you know, I tend to be color. The color, that background color and the blue just don't go together in my mind. So it would just help if the letters were and the basket, and which is what you really want, you know. So then the backdrop would be the facade of the building rather than having the blue backdrop.
And I think this is why this master signage plan would be so nice, because I think this is completely different from other signs on that building, I'm pretty sure. Which
Yeah.
typically when you have a center, you've got some kind of, they don't have to be exactly alike, some of them are, but there's some kind of continuity. And like this panel is just completely different from, if I'm remembering it all correctly.
I think it would be cleaner and your ad would still be strong.
Might even stand out a little more.
Yeah, I mean, and it wouldn't have, it's almost like the panel makes a duplicate to the background of the building, so you're doubling up, and there's no need.
Mr. Sutton, let me
Yes.
ask you a question. There's an existing sign on the building that is advertising, what is the existing building sign?
Easy Coin.
Easy Coin, laundry, okay,
They
so,
changed management, so they're changing names, is what it sounds like.
okay. And would you describe the urgency as being very urgent, moderately urgent, not urgent at all in terms of getting the new sign made and installed?
I would say it's urgent.
It's urgent, okay.
It's operational, and, you know, all the rest of the branding is in place.
Yep,
And they spent a tremendous amount of money cleaning the facility,
yep.
fixing every machine in there.
And I'll explain the reason that I'm asking is that we meet once a month, and whenever, as chairman, one of the things I try to do is move things along, but I also try not to speed them to, and don't want to make you nervous, not saying that there's been a motion to deny, there hasn't yet, but the number of questions I'm hearing, that one of the questions I always like to ask when we get this many questions is if we were to continue the application until next month, it would give you a chance to address the questions and not have, forgive my blunt language, but the showdown of approval or not if we start to have people that are nervous. Because our goal here is for the sign to go up and everyone to be happy and go about their business. But so I guess that's the reason I asked the question is that if it were to take another month, you know, is that a problem?
That's what's up
So,
there now.
yeah.
Well, do you think it would need to take another month if we said we approve it without the capsule panel, the quarter-inch panel, and now
Okay.
we become a channel?
Yeah. Is that modification something that you believe is feasible?
It's certainly feasible, it's not favorable, but
Okay.
it's feasible.
Well, and feasible meaning, I mean, technically you could do it, but do you think the applicant would be, the operator would be open to that? Or do you know how dead set they are on having the panel?
Well, that bubble
Looks like
part
Oh,
is
yeah.
part of
Just
their.
put everything on top.
Yeah.
Inside the building on their other material. So,
Okay.
But if they could get the approval without the bubble, and then you could have the sign installed, it would be better than continuance. Those are our two choices. I don't know. I mean, we have to vote on it.
yes, ma'am.
But in my mind, that's what would be.
And I would be comfortable approving it without the panel behind it.
It's just that we have to, you know, the building has to be clean and probably painted back there.
Yeah.
There's just other things that go into it.
The building would have to be cleaned in terms of,
Well, it's just, you know, that, you don't want to sign a set on the building
right.
for an extended period of time. And when you start
Oh,
taking
okay,
that sign
so,
off,
okay.
things don't look the same back, right? That
Oh, and this
panel-
was covering everything?
The panel is existing.
Oh, the panel is existing.
So basically, he's gonna use that flat
Oh, okay.
capsule and put this on top
So
of
you
it.
just have to clean off the,
Put
where
a
the
color or
shadow is.
vinyl behind it.
Clean
Yeah,
the
assume
shadow
it-
that it's made on the building.
And aside from the fact that the print is already made.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Can you do the channel letters in the bubble, design instead of having the back? So, because you were saying that they're in the interior and their branding all has the bubbles. Is that something that's feasible?
It's possible.
There was a plain blue background instead of a bubbly
No,
background.
just the bubbles on the letters.
So let me clarify what you were saying earlier, is the,
Oh, that'd be cool.
the panel is attached to the raceway.
Yes, sir.
So there's space between the panel and the building.
Exactly.
And the raceway would stay, I assume, you'd fix the letters. If the panel went away, you'd fix the letters to the raceway. But you're saying that even though the panel is not attached to the building, there may be discoloration behind it.
Have you seen the picture of what's there before?
Yeah.
And you can
And that
get
would be
an idea of the
color,
depth.
So you
Yeah.
don't have to repaint the building, fix the building in order to put, because it wouldn't be covering all that capsule.
I mean, you guys can get an idea of the depth of it. You see how big the shadow is from the existing sign?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a substantial thing.
So the only thing affixed to the building is a raceway.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, it's probably already painted behind there, you might have to pressure wash a little bit or something like that.
No, it's just that the sun doesn't, how long has that sign been there? And the sun hasn't hit it. It's gonna be a totally different color than the surrounding area, so you really have to fix all of that.
Just paint it.
Yeah. It will look better.
It would,
In my mind.
So we'll agree to disagree.
I mean,
Well, I'm only one vote, so.
I hate to even bring this, I'm not sure how I feel about this before I say it, let me give you that caveat. But I would even feel better if that panel was painted the same color as the building and leave the panel there. It wouldn't be my ideal, I've said what my ideal is, but that's
Okay.
better to me than the blue, because it wouldn't be looking like it's taking up so much space and
Well, at that point,
blaring.
yeah, at that point, I don't know, I wouldn't go there.
I gave the caveat, I'm not even sure.
Yeah.
Aesthetically, I don't like that. The other thing that I would think of would be to have the letters have the bubbles on them, and then have the background be white instead of the way it is. It would be less.
Can I cut the bubble down? Still leave the bubble? Can I draw something?
Sure.
Cut it down.
You mean the background bubbles drop their intensity?
This one?
Yeah.
Or, well,
You would still have to fix the
Tennessee or
building
size?
beyond.
that's, I'm saying,
No,
that's gonna.
No, no.
We
No, no,
need to
no.
fix the building anyway.
Yeah.
Well, okay, if that's the case, then I'm going with what I said.
And that's my preference too.
Trying to save the bubbles outside of the text.
Yes.
So if we created a cloud, so to speak,
What do you need?
And-
Don't look at it like that.
I'm not looking that way.
And so the cloud, is that
I don't play.
Is that in the same plane as what I'm gonna try to use the language we've all been using. It's in the same plane as the capsule?
It is the capsule.
It would become the capsule. The capsule essentially would
Yeah.
shrink
I'm just
conceptually.
literally going to
It kind of
pattern on
discolored.
it and
Yeah.
cut it.
So there'd be 3 versions of bubbles. There'd be the bubbles in the laundry basket, the bubbles in the graphic,
To
and then
me,
the
it
bubble.
makes it way busy.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
I'll throw my 2
I'll draw
cents in.
something else.
Okay.
Oh,
Tim has acknowledged that this complex is unusual in that it doesn't have a master sign plan. The reason for that is lost to history, I guess. So, if this were a standalone building all by itself, that's kind of how we're evaluating it.
no, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say a few positive
Three
things about
tenants
it.
in that building.
Do I?
3 tenants in that building with signage.
Yeah,
You mean that part of that
That's part
center?
of that center.
Is that center or is it?
The part of that center,
that
Is it
structure
98
in that center.
barbecue?
on
Yeah,
the
yeah,
west side.
yeah,
I look at a whole center when I look at this.
Yeah.
yeah. So, is yours a touchscreen?
Well, it does do a touchscreen.
Oh, okay, in there.
I don't know how to do it, I never use it that way.
Okay.
May have to punch a button somewhere.
Okay. But I think it's safe to say that the signs are not really very similar at all.
Well, what's this?
No, they're all over the place.
They're all, yeah, they're all different.
All of them.
Yeah. I guess where I'm going with it is that the sign conforms to the dimensional criteria. Given the overall character of the plaza and everything, I don't think the sign is radically out of the kind of the character of the plaza is that the signs don't match. So, if you
Yeah, but it's an individual sign.
so, I'm trying to say that politely that there's a sort of irreverency to the signage in this particular plaza. So, if this were the only sign of this character on an otherwise pretty,
They're all different, but
Yeah.
they're pretty much all channel letters with nothing behind them. I mean,
okay,
there's one another center that doesn't have a master signage plan.
and they're all kind of.
And then they got.
They are wildly off from each other.
Yeah.
This one,
These are all.
Oh, you're right there. Yeah, good
yeah,
point.
but
Yeah.
they have a kind of a, somewhat of a consistent look.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Sutton. This is what I kind of suspect. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I mean,
Okay.
I'm just saying that looking at the other signs, they're, it's sort of like, they have a certain consistency in a certain way, even though it's not aesthetically.
They don't have the capsules.
It might not have even
No,
been
Yeah.
intended.
they don't have
but they
that
don't
extra
Yeah.
panels.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Mr. Sutton, this is kind of where I thought we might end up going. So, I don't. So I guess my question again is, I think we can either continue the dialogue and see which way this motion goes, or we can make some suggestions and then give you the opportunity to go back to the owner, the business owner, and let them know what we talked about and give them your designer input, and we'll see you again next month, and everything will wait till then, or we can go ahead and make the decision tonight, and it'll be what it is.
What about a third option
Sure.
of the approval of contingency?
Okay, we can do that too. Yep,
Yeah, that is.
yep. So is everyone comfortable with that? Okay, all right.
That'll be fine.
If my sleeves rolled up, I roll them.
And if they meet the contingency, then we just come
Reapply.
back again?
Right. You have to
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, but one of the things I looked at was the date of your application, which was the 18th of June. And so, it'll go through that cycle again, and if you had to reapply, you may end up being 2 months out. So and I'm not negotiating or bartering with you, I'm just
No, no.
telling you, my goal is for you to get a sign on that building that everybody's happy with.
Right.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, in that case, let's Ms. Moore, you were leading the charge here, so you want to,
So is the condition that we were talking about, it's sort of just the sign as is with removing the panel?
the capsule of the panel?
Capsule panel?
Yes.
All right, so I'll make the motion to approve the sign on the condition that the capsule panel is eliminated.
Okay, so we would have,
Second.
very very good. So motion and seconded.
We had a motion on the floor.
Did we?
Already, yes, I'm pretty sure, didn't you?
I'll withdraw that motion.
Yeah,
Oh,
and I'll withdraw my second.
Oh, that's right, we were in
oh, you're right.
session.
I apologize.
that's
Thank
okay.
you, Colleen. That was very, okay. So we've got a new motion. The original motion and the second were withdrawn by the makers of those. And we now have a new motion, and I believe we had a second?
Second,
We
yeah.
did have a second, so. Okay, I do have a question, just for clarity. So the sign that we would be approving would have the self-serve laundry basket and the laundry and the bubbles, the bubbles that are on the basket.
Top, yeah.
That would be the logo. That would be three-dimensional. And then it would have the individual channel letters, clean wash, in white.
Or are they all connected?
Or possibly the bubbles.
Or alternately with the logo style bubbles that I think we saw on a different piece of collateral on the online, I guess it was, yeah, Facebook, so, okay. Yeah, does everybody like that?
Well, were you adding bubbles, or were we gonna do the clean wash the way it is, the letters?
There's no,
That's what my motion was.
yeah, that's why
That's
I'm,
what I understood.
yeah, okay, yeah.
And.
It's the basket and the word clean, and the words clean wash, there's nothing else, yeah.
Correct.
And the letters
The
clean
way it's
wash
presented here.
could be white, or they could be the blue bubbly,
I think white.
I mean, I like the white, but
okay, well,
I
You
think
made the motion,
white-
so-
I mean, the way they
That
have
was
them right
intended.
here,
Okay.
the way they have them right here, with
As
the blue on
presented.
the side and everything.
Blue outline.
Yeah, I mean, exactly like that,
Yeah.
it's just you take just the capsule.
yeah,
out,
so
and
Karen, I
everything
guess
else
to,
is the same.
yeah, to distill it down so that Karen can capture the contingency, so we would move to approve a sign that includes the self-serve basket logo and the channel letters clean wash with white letters.
Exactly like they're shown here.
that was my motion.
Yep, okay. Awesome. We have a motion and a second. We got that clarification. Anyone else have any comments or questions on the board? Mr. Applicant, any other comments or questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Anyone from the audience? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, sir. Okay, that brings us to item number 3, Executive Business Complex.
Yes, this is a major development order application requesting approval to develop 9 vacuum spaces with overhead canopy and a 200 square foot equipment building on 2.32 acres with the future land use of coastal center mixed use. It's located at the southeast corner of Highway 98 West and South Geronimo Street in Miramar Beach. This is the executive car wash. So along the eastern property line, they want to add those. There's actually going to be some parking added as well, but the main gist of the request is the 9 vacuum spaces with the overhead canopy and the equipment building. So it is in compliance with the scenic corridor requirements. They're going to bring the landscaping up to code because currently it's not. And I'll take any questions you may have.
All right, do we have any questions or comments from the board? Everybody comfortable? Oop, go ahead.
Well, just a general question for staff. So other than adding the vacuum fixtures, whatever you want to call those, I think they're adding a small equipment building?
Yeah, it's on the very south part of the eastern property line.
Yes. And bringing the landscaping up to code?
Yes.
Any other changes being proposed?
They're adding some additional parking. See the parking just on the east side, the angled parking on the east side of the car wash? They're adding that. That's not currently there. That's just a drive through for the parking. So they're going to add that. which brings the parking up to standard too. Because of the restaurant, you have 3 restaurants there. They were approved under the restaurant rate of 1 per 150 square feet. So currently, with that standard in the car wash, they don't have enough parking. But with that addition, they will have the requisite number of parking spaces as well. So it brings that up to code as well.
So this parking can be for the restaurants or the car wash?
Well,
The restaurant.
yeah, I mean, the restaurant is what's
Yeah, because when you're using
deficient.
the car wash, you're really not parking your car.
right, that's exactly right.
You're waiting inside. Okay. That's good. Although the vacuum, so, okay, this is probably for the applicant. Are the vacuum stations for, like, self-serve, or is that for, but the car wash is like full service?
Yeah.
So these are just,
I can go ahead and answer.
yeah, I think I'm getting past staff at this point. Sorry.
The car wash is an automated car wash that also has some hand wash along with it. The vacuum stalls are all self-serve. I'm going to say Dean Burgess with Emerald Coast Associates. All the vacuum stalls are self-serve. And as far as the design review board portion of this project, it is this 200 square foot building on the south end of the property. And there are these vacuum stalls will be covered with a just an open awning. Keep the sun off you while you're vacuuming your car. And those have stone pillars with a painted roof that matches the equipment building. Really, those 2 elements, just the awning and the equipment building, are the design review board considerations, along with the landscape.
Dean, is there any new lighting proposed as part of this project?
No new lighting
Okay.
proposed, no signage or lighting.
All right.
That area where you're putting it, it's empty now, right?
Correct.
I have a question. And I know how the architects can be. The architectural rendering on sheet T 1.0 shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 or so fairly mature palm trees. But the landscaping plan in the same location shows a couple dozen, something really tiny. Let's see, I can't tell if they're slash pines. Oh, no, they're not. They're even tinier than that. They're Kathy Ann Yopon hollies.
Yeah, it's a hedge.
Yes, so 180 Yopon hollies. So the architectural rendering is
Is that?
imaginary. Okay, yes.
It's a wish list.
It's eyeball wash. There you go. Okay.
You know how architects are.
I know, that's what I was gonna say, those crazy
Trying to be real
architects.
nice.
Yeah.
The landscape.
I resemble that remark.
Well, the landscape people do something else.
I was just gonna say, yeah, so,
It's all their fault.
Anywhere where there's parking, you have to screen it with a hedge.
yes.
So that's the only requirement down the eastern property line is the
Yeah.
hedge.
Well, Tim, what I was talking about is,
No, I.
Yeah, yeah. that's not a Yopon hedge. Okay,
It's an exotic version of it.
yes.
It's not where it was.
You planted your position again, didn't you? We pay attention.
Okay. Sure, yeah, we're done with that. I've had my fun.
All right, this is probably more of a staff question than applicant. Tim, what is, on this landscape plan, what is the power line? Where is it that little, what is the power, is it marked on here?
I don't think it's marked on the landscape plan. I don't see it on the landscape plan.
Is it
but
marked
I do
anywhere?
believe it's on the site plan.
So here's my question. How are we determining where an applicant can replace the live oaks with an understory tree due to power lines? And I'm asking this because I've seen some of the existing projects where that was done, and those power lines seem pretty far away from those trees to me. I do not see how those trees would ever get into those power lines. So we're sacrificing the intended, row of live oaks in more and more and more, in my opinion, developments. I'm seeing it more and more often. And I'm really starting to question.
Well, that's certainly a legitimate question, but
I mean, it's Gulf
we've kind
dictating
of compromised with Gulf Power. They don't want anything. Zip, nothing. And I keep telling them, that's not an option. Our code requires landscaping. So to put nothing there is not an option. But every time you talk to Gulf Power, they're going to give you the same answer. We want nothing there.
But where? Is it anywhere there are Gulf Power power lines?
Yeah.
That's a lot of the corridor.
Yes.
I mean, a lot.
A lot. And some are closer than others, like
Yes.
the trees.
Yes.
The
Some places
trees
it's
at
legitimate.
Ace Hardware, right there east of 393. I mean, the trees are right under that power line, or just a little on the other side. But like you say, other places are further away.
The trees that used to be at Hardee's were the same distance.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. They've done a pretty good job of keeping.
I still haven't eaten at Hardee's because of that.
Ace Hardware has done a pretty good job about keeping those trimmed, because they are very
Yes.
close. Those could get into the power lines really easily if they let them go.
Yes.
And we haven't forgotten about the trees that aren't at Hardee's. That's all I can say.
Well,
Is we haven't forgotten.
There's some aren't, some are dying.
Oh, you remember there used to be some nice oaks at Hardee's, and then they were indicated on the plan, and they disappeared the week before we got the project to
Yeah.
approve.
And I would estimate that within 3 years, there'll be no trees in front.
Yes.
None.
But, I mean, we could tighten this up, but we've been a little loose with this standard to kind of compromise a little bit with DOT.
I mean,
Because
yeah.
Because DOT can't say, we're gonna have problems with these trees.
You mean golf?
'Cause- I'm sorry, what was that name?
Gulf Power.
Yeah, Gulf
Gulf,
Power, I'm sorry,
yeah.
Gulf Power. So, I mean, we can't tighten that up to where there's gonna be a conflict if there's actually a tree there. Because here, obviously, if it's out in the right of way, there's not a conflict.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, there are 6 in this project. There are 6 trees staggered reasonably. One's existing, 5 are being added, live oaks that are between the right-of-way and the building, on the property. And then there's another 5 that are being planted in the
Yeah,
back. So, I mean, these are pretty good
Brad,
land, yeah.
I think I did put in my report, understory trees because of what, but Brad did put in live oak, so he's actually meeting the requirements. No,
Yeah.
he does say
No.
crepe myrtle substituted due to overhead power lines.
Yeah, and what David is saying is there are live oaks behind those trees.
Yeah.
But between 98 and the building.
Yeah, they're existing live oak.
Yeah, but
One is, and the other 5 are proposed.
One.
Yeah.
They're in the
Yes.
landscape islands because they require a 4-inch caliper canopy tree.
Yeah,
yeah, that's the parking lot islands.
yeah.
I'm just bringing it up as a general, I mean, I think if Gulf Power is gonna say that and we're going to comply, which also now we've got a whole different company coming in, it's gonna be NextEra. But we're just completely moving away from, like if this were every now and then, like a place like Hardee's where there actually are power lines right where you have to plant the trees, that would be one thing, but this is going towards something different. I mean, pretty much along this entire corridor, there are power lines. So
Good
on
portion.
one side of the road or the other, and
Yeah.
sometimes both sides. So
I guess, on this particular landscape plan, I understand where you're going in the general comment, Lee, but I mean, this particular landscape plan, between the crepe myrtles and the 5 additional live oaks in addition to the one that exists,
Yep,
It's-
absolutely.
That's pretty good considering.
Yeah. And you have a landscape architect doing this plan that is really cognizant of the.
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
That's not always the case,
Yeah.
but, so yeah, it's not, I'm not necessarily saying it's a huge concern on this particular one because of what you're saying now, but I'm getting concerned about it in general.
Well, the last two, the power lines do pretty much go right through the scenic corridor buffer. Sellers Tile that we had last month and Commerce Park PUD. I mean, those power lines pretty much go right through the buffer. So this one is a little further away. It's in the right of way, but
I'm going back even further. It's just a concern. We can move on this particular application, but I do have a concern about it in general.
well, we can try to tighten up on that.
Thank you.
I mean, based on, I would
And
say
it might
that,
be another conversation with Next Era. They may be a
Yeah,
little
they're
different.
probably going to have similar requirements to Gulf Power more than
Similar.
likely.
Similar.
But Gulf Power is pretty
They're-
anal about what they want to see.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, these power, if I'm understanding, the dotted line is indicating the, yeah.
It's one of those two out here.
It's squiggly.
Yeah, I mean, those babies are in
It's-
close to this project.
Dave, are you looking at these? It's one of these two.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at just, I'm reading the,
But if you look at it with the landscaping plan, those trees are pretty far from those power lines. If you go down to, say, Dollar General, all the way down to the county line, Oklahoma County line, same deal. I went and
These
drove
little squiggly
the
lines?
looked up. They're way away.
It's the one closest to the property line, but yes.
yeah.
Right here.
I guess, yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is that right there is 20, the depth of this parking bay is 20 feet, so let's say it's 20, they're like 40 some odd, maybe feet away. Well, I mean, a mature live oak has a canopy of 80 plus feet in diameter, so that's in the power line. So I guess what I'm saying, on this particular project, that's about as close as you can feasibly plant an oak tree that is going to reach maturity and not be pruned heavily. That's about as close as you can get to those power lines. Otherwise, the tree is going to get shaved heavily at some point in its life and look ridiculous. So I agree with your general point, but on this particular project, I'm suggesting
that's
you
what I
couldn't
said.
plant those trees a whole lot closer and not have to prune them ridiculously.
Like a Dixie electric car?
Yes. Yeah.
Those trees look awful, but there's a view corridor for that billboard, so you had to lock them
Yeah.
off, but they
Yeah.
look awful.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah, that's.
I don't know.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
So I said, it's not a sticking point for me on this application, but I'm getting concerned about it in general.
Okay.
And it may be that we need to just look at a potential change to code. I mean, if we can't comply with the original intent because of this new, approach from the power company,
Yeah.
then we need to think about it.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, the code takes that into consideration by allowing understory trees where there are overhead power lines.
So, I mean, do we just need to define what the center of the tree to the power line,
What the minimum
you know?
or maximum.
I'd say, I mean, just in round numbers,
That might
if
help.
the trunk of the tree were planted closer than 50 feet horizontally from the power lines, I think you're getting close enough that at some point in that tree's life, it's going to get heavily pruned.
Unless we underground.
Well, that's
And
true.
then you're gonna wish you had a bunch of big old live oaks.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, over the life of the project, yeah, crepe myrtles are gonna be more of an obstruction to a passing car's, a motorist's view of the building than a live oak, so, yeah, I would
Yes.
think, and, you know, the silver,
That's a whole nother
I
thing.
just forget what to call it, silver shells, the outlets, you know, they just recently started pruning the trees up from the bottom, and so they live with some obstruction of the view for a long time, and now the property's really starting to look
Exactly.
good.
Exactly.
Because the trees are not, you know, they're being pruned limbed up from the bottom, they look great, so.
Yeah, sometimes I think when an applicant wants to do understory trees instead of canopy because of the view, they actually end up in the long run hurting
Yeah,
themselves. But-
so, okay.
And what I'm saying is like. let's-
Oh, yeah.
Let me just
Yeah.
put it one other way and I'll shut up. I think the original intent was to have some consistency along the corridor,
Mhm.
and I feel we are moving away from that significantly. And I'm looking out for the next 10 to 20 years too, not just today.
We're consistently inconsistent.
Yeah, yes, we're getting there, yeah. So it may be time to think about
Yeah.
that and
Okay.
possibly even make some
Yeah.
investments. I don't
One
know.
other observation, Lee.
Yes.
The live oaks are 8 feet tall at time of planting. The crepe myrtles are 14 feet tall at the time of planting.
I know,
So,
but again,
Okay.
I'm looking at the long haul, and I don't hate crepe myrtles either. I'm just saying, I think we're getting in a situation
Yep.
where it's just, the intent is it's
I
not
agree.
working.
Understood,
anymore.
yeah.
I have crepe myrtles that are 30 feet tall in my yard.
Yep,
Took a crane to plant them.
yep.
They're huge.
Okay, so we've spoken with each other, we've spoken with the applicant. Do we have anybody else we want to talk to about this project? Anybody in the audience? Okay, yeah.
Live oaks versus crepe myrtle.
I think it's a good landscape plan
I do
considering.
too.
Yeah,
I'm not having an issue with this particular landscape plan, just saying.
okay. Well, right now, we're voting on this particular landscape plan, I
Yes,
hope,
let's do
so.
it. Stop arguing.
Do we have any, have anyone who's brave enough to make a motion?
I move we approve.
A motion?
Second.
I have a motion and properly seconded to approve the project as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Burgess.
Appreciate it.
Okay, the next two items go together. But first, we have to do the deviation, but we have to talk about the whole project. So, Louis Louis,
Tim, before you start, I just wanted to make an announcement that I have to recuse myself from this one and the next one.
okay.
Thank you.
I'm not gonna read it verbatim. Louis Louis is doing an expansion to their existing building. They're also doing an office building just behind it to the north. And then beyond that, which is beyond the scenic corridor, beyond the 400 foot, they're doing an apartment building. So, as far as the deviation, the current Louis Louis building has a roof pitch of 3 to 12. So they want the expansion and the office building, they're building it in the same vein, to have a roof pitch of 3 to 12. So that's what the deviation is for. The rest of the project, I mean, it's one project, so the plans show the apartment. Just be cognizant that it's beyond the scenic corridor, so you're not looking at the aesthetics of that building. But it's one whole project with the Louis Louis expansion, the new office building, and the new apartment building beyond. So, with that, it is in compliance with the scenic corridor requirements based on the deviation for roof pitch being approved. I'll answer any questions you may have. Hopefully that was detailed enough.
So do I recall the code requires when it's pitched 6 and 12? Minimum?
A minimum of 4 to 12 and a
Okay.
maximum of 8 to 12.
Okay.
So this is at 3, so it's beyond the minimum.
What's happening with landscaping here?
They are bringing up the code, but there's challenges. So we've allowed them to put some of the landscaping outside of the actual buffer area because there's some existing things in the buffer that would really be difficult to move. Like the grease trap is in the buffer. There's some other, along the road, you know, they're supposed to have buffering along Muscle Bayou Road. There's a ditch there, a stormwater ditch. So there's some challenges on putting the landscaping in the correct place, but all the number of plantings that are required are all there. They're just moved into some other areas because these things are already existing and it's going to be difficult to move them, and we can't do anything about the ditch along Muscle Bayou, but the total number of plantings required are being met.
I'm just not finding a landscaping plan, am I missing it?
Well, it should be there, they provided it.
It should be in the next item.
Yes, and it's not,
This is just, the pitch is just the deviation.
yeah, it's the next item, you're gonna find the landscape plan. We had to do, in terms of voting, you have to vote for the deviation first.
So building one is the original building, the existing building?
Yeah, the
Okay.
existing Louis. They're gonna do, what's this say, 1,247 square foot addition to that building. And then the office building is 4,365 square feet, and then the apartment building is six units. 6-unit apartment building. Also, just so you know, there is some plantings, because they're already there, they're existing, that aren't currently allowed in the scenic corridor under today's code, but they're already there, so just so you know, we're not making them take all the existing landscaping out and putting new in because the code changed.
Am I dreaming this, or did I read in here that we've got galvanized metal being used for some of the siding system? Or metal?
I believe it's just a metal roof that we're measuring existing, which is essentially.
It's all metal, not the siding. The siding is wood.
Okay. I don't know where I saw
My name is,
that.
William Rivera, with Margaret Architectural. And in terms of siding on the buildings, everything is essentially, existing Louis is a very weathered cedar, board and batten. Everything we're doing is either cedar or white stucco, or shaded white stucco, or white painted, hardy panel type siding. So those are essentially the things. The only metal will be on the roof. So there may be a wavered arrow on an elevation, but as far as I can tell, it's just standing seam metal roofing and match existing.
So is the new addition to the restaurant, I guess, will the exterior siding match what's existing? Or
Yes,
is it gonna have
with the exception of the kind of oval entry element, which will be just an off-white, kind of a cream stucco color. The rest of the siding will be sourced as basically reclaimed cedar wherever we can find it.
And the only deviation request is for the roof pitch to be allowed to be 3 on 12 versus 4 on 12.
Yes.
Okay. And the reason that the original building had a 3 on 12 roof is it pre-existed the code and.
Yes, it predates the scenic corridor.
Yep. Okay. Yep. Okay.
Typical porch.
Oh yeah. I haven't been able to find a landscape plan either, but I mean, I think the gist of the.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I think that.
Well, Dakota, that's good. I just can't see it.
Yep.
Do you have a landscape plan, Tim?
Here's mine.
I can speak to it. You should have two packages. I'm John Ashwood, Collins System. The development order packet has the civil plans in it. The last sheet of the civil plans is the landscape plan. The deviation request only has items that relate to the deviation.
Yeah.
So it
I
should
think
be
the
on-
item number 2, yeah.
Number 5.
I'm sorry. The second item number 5.
Yeah, item number 5.
I can't find it, but.
Yeah, I haven't found it either, but yeah. If we go on landscape.
You can always look at them.
Oh yeah.
That part all was submitted.
This site is pretty subdued lighting on it already. Is it as part of the new construction? Are there? Do we have a lighting plan? Are you doing any
We
lighting?
do not. There's no proposed additional lighting
Okay.
on the site. The office building is designed to, or intended to operate during the day,
Okay.
not at the same time as the restaurant.
Yep. All right. Awesome.
And I can second what Tim said about the landscaping. We went to great pains to find every square inch we could to fit the tree requirements, but there are some substantial things in the way, especially by the office building. So some
Okay.
things did have to get moved around. There's a ditch that's on the property that had to be piped with several pipes, if you look at the drainage plan, that made it impossible to plant trees there.
Okay.
A hedge is still proposed in that area.
Staff, it's not necessary to have a deviation request for the landscaping?
No, I don't think so, because the total number of plantings are met.
Okay, all right, yep,
They're just not in the traditional 10-foot buffer.
okay,
And of course, the 25-foot scenic corridor on 98 is compliant. There wasn't really any challenges there. It was the rest of the site along Musset By, and then once you get around, like John was saying, the office building, then there was some challenges, but the total number of plantings are being met.
okay.
I'm looking at the exterior renderings. Is that trim, like the window, the shutters and the trim on the tower, entry tower? Is that yellow, a bright yellow? What is
Like
that?
a green?
Sticking out. Unfortunately, I have to fill out the magnifying glass to read my drawing. Could you repeat the question?
The trim on the restaurant, and I think there, it looks like.
The shutters, maybe?
There's some on the back as well. It's the shutters, it's, the frames of the windows as well, and then there's, it looks like that element above the door on the tower, the entry tower. And maybe even some trim around the top of the entry tower, and then I see some more back on the office building. It looks like a bright yellow on my computer. That does not mean anything. I can't tell what the color is. But it looks like a bright yellow on the rendering.
Right, I'm thinking that was more of an issue with the render than anything else. I can figure out the color and the red or right way. It is called out to be, C5 is, no, pretty much everything on the building, at tower level should just be that kind of an off-white, green, with the exception of the Louis sign, which is an existing design, it's kind of crimson and gold, and those are the colors that he hopes to keep. Everything else is, again, either natural cedar or weathered cedar or off-white,
Okay, so the trim and the shutters are off-white.
yes.
This looks like a lime green in my computer.
And it looks like a really bright yellow.
Oh, I found the colors here, yes. So the colors are listed on sheet A2.
Right.
Okay, great.
So I think it's and for example, on the 3D renderings, on that tower, there's some strange green things, and that's just ivy growing. The intent is that that tower element gets covered over time with vines.
Okay. Yeah, so
In terms
lap
of-
siding,
in terms of-
shutters, window trims are called out to be natural cedar.
Right.
And
Why
then
they
you,
turn that yellow, that's,
okay.
I'll have a conversation with the renderer.
May have been like an early rendering or something, I don't know.
Or maybe late on Friday afternoon, who knows?
Okay, that's all my questions.
All right. Okay, is that it for questions of the applicant? Do we have any questions or comments from the audience? All right, no, none indicated. So I think we're at the point of a motion, perhaps.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. Yes, sir, Mr. Tim.
You're doing the deviation first, right?
Yes.
I'm sorry, yes, so this is to approve the deviation request. All right, so we have a motion to approve the deviation request and a second. Do we have any other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, that brings us to the main item, which is what's the title? Louis expansion. Yes.
The landscape plan is in your packets, it's gonna be the last insert. I think it says 18-07-19E. Civil plans, the landscape plan is in those civil plans.
Oh, we don't have that. We stop at site photographs. But that's okay. Tim circulated his hard copy, so we had access to it. Yep. Let's let the record reflect we had access to it before we made our decision. Okay. Do we need any further presentation, comments, questions? Ready to go? Okay. All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. Hang on one second. Any comments from the audience? No. Oh, you're right. Yes. We need a motion. Sorry.
Ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Okay. We're at the point of a motion for the main project. You made a motion earlier and sloppy today.
I make a motion to approve.
A motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I second.
Motion and seconded. Ms. Moore, do you have a question brewing? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all.
Do we need a,
How'd you vote, Colleen?
Oh, yes, the record can reflect that Colleen abstained from both those last items. Do you have to fill out paperwork? Did you do that?
I already did.
Yeah, very good.
she's all of
Yep. Okay, that brings us to item number 6, the final item on the agenda, which is our workshop. And we kind of already had it.
I think our workshop got swallowed up.
Yes.
I know, since.
Our slow-moving workshop.
Doesn't exist anymore.
Progress.
Yeah.
The mean wheels of
Got
progress.
a big kick in the pants.
Okay. All right.
We technically need to continue it or whatever.
Well, I think like Kristen said, with the way the code update is going, I think it overtook you. So I think the workshops are done because you're out of time.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll call her. I actually put it on my calendar to talk to her tomorrow. So we'll try to get some way, shape, or form in the draft. And I guess it doesn't need this board's involvement. If it makes it into that draft, it's off and cruising on its own life, right?
Yeah, and like Kristen said, she'll bring it back in September. She wants a
Yeah.
vote from this board to take forward to the county commission. So
The whole deal.
Yeah.
Will we be
Yeah.
able to see it in advance of the next meeting, of the September meeting?
It'll be in the
Should be
packet.
in our packet.
In the
Yeah.
packet, yeah.
Yeah, it should
Okay.
be in your,
Yeah.
in
We'll
your
just
packet
be-
like it normally would be.
Yeah.
Because she wants you to see it ahead of time and vote, have an official vote to move forward to the county commission. But in terms of the workshops, I think you've been overtaken there.
Yep.
I think it's just we'll just be a little out of order from
Yeah.
our norm of being before the planning commission.
Yep. All right. So I guess the workshops are bye-bye.
Do we need to dispense of this agenda item in some way? Or just let it go?
Yeah, I don't think votes required. You just,
All right.
no action was taken, that's all.
Okay.
But since we didn't continue it,
It kind of dies.
yep.
Yeah, because I think this was the last one, so.
Yeah, that was mine.
Okay.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I have
Oop,
one
oop.
question though.
Yes, okay.
And this may have, I was not here at the last meeting, so it may have happened then. I just had a question about things that we approve, and they say they're going to be a certain way, and they get built and get a CO, and they are not that way. What happens at that point?
You have to call the,
I think it becomes a code enforcement.
And I don't know if anybody, my question is about the Cefco station. Because the,
What part of it?
well, the AC units show on the top a lot, and they went out and they painted them green, but that's gonna look horrible. It is, okay.
Yeah.
It was discussed
It was
briefly.
discussed
yes.
last, that's, I just wanted to make
They
sure.
bonded, because what they want to do to screen it is going to take 6 to 8 weeks to fabricate.
Okay,
And they're like, we want to open, we don't want to
Yeah.
wait 6 to 8 more weeks. So
Right.
we allowed them to bond it.
okay, cool.
They gave us a bond, and then what you're talking about is an interim fix to.
Okay, to make it less obvious, yeah.
Right, but they will screen it, just, it's gonna take a little bit of time.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure something had been addressed on
Yes,
it.
we were not going to let them open
Okay, cool,
without the screening.
great,
And they came to us from Bended Knee with a big handful
yeah.
of money to push the bond.
Yeah, because it was gonna show whether they were open or not, obviously.
I sure hope the tape didn't end halfway through that last sentence.
But, they posted a cash bond.
Yeah, initially, like Max said, we weren't gonna give them a CO. We're like,
Right.
it's not right, we're not gonna give you a CO, you're not gonna open on time.
They
Okay.
bonded it such that.
They volunteered to paint the equipment and.
To make it less obtrusive,
To try
yes.
to diminish the
Sure.
appearance of it.
And it helps, it's just, I knew that that was not gonna be a fix that would last
Yeah.
for very long
Yes.
in the sun. Okay.
And
And they worked with us, I don't know if you noticed right after it opened, had all these posters in the windows
Right.
facing Highway 98. And we asked them, code enforcement, asked them, that's not really allowed, could you take them out? And they did. I noticed yesterday we drove by there and they're no longer there. Every window had a poster in it, so they worked with us. But some of the others, like Tom Thumb, have not worked with us. They do have signs in their windows, so they didn't take those down.
If it's on a scenic corridor, for them to get their CO, does somebody from planning have to say
The DO
it's good?
inspector.
Yeah, okay.
The DO inspector has to sign off that the project as built is the same as what was approved.
Okay,
And
And that-
conditional CO, subject
Gotcha.
to
Yeah.
and the ATM mechanic.
yeah, okay.
Okay, so that was my next question. What'd you just say? The ATM canopy?
Outstanding.
Okay, we know that, because we discussed that last
Okay.
month too, is that big green
Yeah.
ATM with white, yeah. So are they gonna refabricate a canopy that matches the building architecture? Or what are they?
That I'm not sure of, but the first problem was it was interior cleaning.
Yes,
Yeah, better.
Although you see those all over the place, you don't see anything.
Not- yeah.
It would be great if it would match the architecture of the building, because it totally does not in any way, color, architecture, anything.
it kind of sticks out.
It very much sticks out.
Well, it's interesting too that it's outside, and most of these ATMs inside the building,
Yeah.
so it's interesting they put it outside.
And I think this is a third party,
Mhm.
that provides
Yeah.
ATM service.
They don't wanna give their storage unit. Profit, money.
Okay. Does that wrap up our business tonight? All right, I believe we had a motion to adjourn a second ago.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Oh, gavel. Okay. Lee, thank you for the use of
Just hit 12 hours today.
Absolutely, you could have kept it.